Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be checking out some of Sniper Elite 5, the latest in a long-running series of stealth action games where you play as an elite sniper behind enemy lines. Now, this newest installment features a campaign with some of its largest open play spaces to date, full of many different locations, collectibles, and things for you to do. You'll have your main task of either taking out a target or acquiring information or sabotaging some sort of system, along with various side objectives that you will discover while exploring, either coming across them or finding intel pointing you to it. And at the same time, also having to manage the constant enemy threat, which you can snipe from a distance, sneak in and take down quietly, or go in guns blazing, planting proximity mines, tossing grenades, and firing at anything that moves. I would say that the game pushes you in the direction of playing the stealth role, but does still offer some flexibility if things do not go as planned. Now, Sniper Elite 5 also includes an improved traversal system, enhanced gunplay physics, more interactive environment, tons of weapon customization, a skill system, and multiple game modes outside of the campaign, like wave-based survival mode, competitive multiplayer, and the all-new invasion mode where other players can enter into your campaign as an enemy sniper, which really adds a whole new level of challenge. You got playing against actual people in the campaign. So I've played a bunch of Sniper Elite 5 this past week, and I want to share with you as much as I can here today. The pre-launch NDA is pretty darn restrictive in terms of what I can show you. Basically, I can't show you the whole game, but the first handful of missions that I can show, I think are pretty representative and do a good job of showcasing how the game plays, what there is to do, what it's like. But before we dive into any of that, let's get a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Ridge Wallet. These are the hardy, compact wallets designed to streamline what you carry down to the essentials. Personally, mine holds an ID, a bank and credit card, and a couple of member cards, and that's it. Now, if you do have a lot of cards you feel you need to carry on a regular basis, Ridge Wallets can hold up to 12 while still having room for cash thanks to the cash strap, which I do make use of on the rare occasion I'm carrying any around. These are offered in over 30 different colors and styles, are made of durable materials, and have over 40,000 5-star reviews, along with coming with a 45-day risk-free trial and a lifetime warranty. Now, if you're interested in checking out Ridge Wallet for yourself, head over to ridge.com/force or use the link in the description below. And in celebration of Father's Day, which these would make a good gift for, using the code FORCE at checkout will get you 15% off your order. Okay, so what I want to do is take you through my experience of running through the very first campaign mission, because I do think this is a pretty good job of showcasing the game's various systems, features, strengths, and weaknesses. And overall, again, I think it's a good representation of my Sniper Elite 5 experience so far. So we begin with a cutscene. There is an evil plot afoot, and you are called upon to save the day once again. Your mission is to neutralize the enemy defenses and rendezvous with a contact in town, ideally doing so unseen. You will notice probably though that the visuals look not particularly great for a new game in 2022. This is one of the more common complaints that I've seen about Sniper Elite 5, but I can live with not great looking visuals. Like, sure, they don't look very modern day or next gen, but I think it's serviceable for the experience that they're delivering. It's fine, it's whatever, it doesn't have to look amazing. So we pull up in the submarine, breach the water, and I'm asked to take out 2 searchlights before we approach. This is the game's introduction to the tagging targets with binoculars and the sniping system, which does include the return of the empty lung mechanic. Basically, you exhale, which slows down time and even gives you a little mark for where your shot will land. One of the features that Sniper Elite is also best known for, the kill cam, has been improved upon as well. It is now more detailed than ever. Although after a short time, I did just toggle this feature off. It slows down the gameplay a bit too much. It is a cool feature. I know it's what they're known for, but a lot of times I'd rather just see a quick short snippet of it and then get back to actually playing. So I neutralize the spotlights and then take a boat to secure the beachhead. Now here we get the basic introduction to movement. There's crouching, proning, mantling, and climbing. They do have limited cases and areas in which you can climb. You can't go up, over, and onto everything, rather select objects in the environment. And in general, I gotta say, the game is very particular about where and when you can use these traversal methods. methods. We'll get to that later though. I stealth take down a few patrolling guards, which you have two options here, which are to either kill or to pacify anyone that you sneak up on. Now I found myself pacifying most of the time because it does reward bonus experience, which does mean faster leveling and skill progression. So I continue down a linear path, take out a few more guards, I find some useful items like specialty ammo, I take out a few more guards, and then I reach the processing plant, which triggers a second cutscene. I find my contact, she's all right, everything's good, and so now we're on to the mission. But before leaving the plant, we do get to check out the workbench. These allow for in-mission weapon customization. Workbenches will be found scattered all around every single level in the game, and should at any point you want to change your scope, your muzzle, the magazine, or anything else on your weapons, you're able to do so here. Now you'll start off with access to just a few different things to change and customize. As you play and progress, you'll unlock more for each of the weapon types in the game. So I finish with the workbench, I step out of the building and head up a path and finally arrive to a bulk of the level. The very first section, the first like 10 or 15 minutes is ultra linear. But here's where things open up, and this is more representative of the rest of the game. So this very first level is a sprawling coastal battlefield. Now, my main objective is to take out this massive radar tower located to the north. In between me and that are several checkpoints, fields, and patrolled roads for me to cross. Then to the south, there's a heavily fortified coastline with bunkers and barricades scattered all about. Further to the west is this large, dense city with key enemy targets for me to track. And all around the map are farms, fields, different encampments, there's anti-aircraft turrets, and loads of enemies. It's a fairly large play space with a lot of things to do, which you can approach however you like. So as I emerge from that tutorial area and open up into the map, the first thing that I did was handle the enemies at the checkpoint located just in front of me. Now, anyone you take out in this game can be searched, and sometimes they will have useful items on them. They'll include things like ammo or different consumables or throwables, or sometimes specialty items giving you access to certain unique areas. Now, just as I was looting this one guy, some more enemies showed up because apparently they had heard my shots. Now, this was part of my very first playthrough. I didn't know this at the time. The game has this system of a sound radius where depending on your weapon, muzzle, and ammo, the shots that you make will be heard at different distances. So obviously if you have a silencer on a pistol, the distance is much smaller than if you have an unsilenced sniper rifle shot. So any enemy within that distance will be alerted to the exact location of that sound's origin, and that is indicated by that little yellow spinning triangle on the mini-map. So the enemies heard my shots, they came to investigate, they saw me in that process, and then they engaged. It is a pretty neat system, and there's actually also a visual counterpart in the game as well, where depending on your position, if you're standing, crouched, or prone, along with your actual location, if you're in the open, in the shadows, or maybe covered by tall grass, there is also a visual radius within which enemies can see you. That's indicated on your mini-map as well, and will adjust dynamically as these different circumstances change. Okay, so I dealt with those enemies. I then made my way south towards the coastline. I decided to hold off on doing my main objective. I wanted to do some exploration. Now, I did have intel that there was a good lookout spot here, and as I was walking down, I immediately noticed that the game has some very linear pathing to it. You're unable to just go anywhere within a level, and I'm not just talking about like the exterior of the map. There are at times some very clear paths that you will, if you commit to, you will be stuck on. Like I can't just jump into any of these bushes or climb up these banks on either side of this road. If I am on the road, I am on the road until it ends, or unless I decide to backtrack. Now there are certain spots, like there's some tall grass to the one side or a little path to the other side, but for the most part, going down this particular road is a commitment, and this was a telling early sign of how this game's level design is both open but also very linear in parts. Now I am certain that this was done to create kind of a tension around encountering the enemy, as you're not able to just quickly hide in any given situation. For example, if a truck came down the path at the wrong time here, I would have just been in the open with not much much to do but fight or try to run. I wouldn't be able to just quickly hide and get out of sight, which in turn might mean that I would not decide to take this path to prevent that from happening and find some alternate route instead. So as I was heading towards the lookout point, I failed to sneak up on this guy outside of the bunker. Now, fortunately though, as I mentioned earlier, getting into non-stealth fights is totally manageable in this game. It does not mean certain death. So I deal with the enemy, and then I go inside the bunker, and from the vantage point, I spot several other bunkers along the beach, and that is when I'm given a new side quest. This game has this system where once you come across things, side quests will just pop up for you to complete. They want me to destroy these bunkers. Sounds good. From my nice little perch, I take out a guard in one of the distant bunkers, which levels me up, unlocking a point for me to spend. So as you play the game, you'll get experience from doing just about everything. Taking out targets, completing objectives, performing special actions like stealth takedowns or long distance shots, etc. All of this gives you experience, leveling you up and giving you skill points, which you can spend in one of three categories. There is combat, equipment, and body, and all of these just provide nice new perks. It's a fairly simple system. You get an extra health bar or the ability to revive yourself with a med kit, or maybe increased efficiency in like sprinting. Nothing huge, but they are nice little bonuses and things to kind of progress towards as you play. Okay, so the goal is I've got 3 bunkers to blow up. Let's go do it. The first one went fairly smoothly. I found a satchel charge as I was walking into the bunker. So I just placed it, ignite it, and walk out without any issue. It goes boom. I try walking through the front of the second bunker. It looked like it was fairly a large open space that my character could fit through, but an invisible wall, the game says, no, you cannot do this. There will be a lot of these in this game. Again, it is very particular about where and how you can move. So I go out back of the bunker. There are a few guards here. I take out one, and a second one comes to investigate. I take him out using the sound masking mechanic in this game. Due to certain events like loud noises, gunshots, airplanes flying by, you're able to use these to hide your gunshots. Now there's an indicator with this sound wave at the top of the screen, and whenever this thing is going wildly, it tells you you are safe to make noise without alerting enemies because the sound will be masked. When done properly, this is a great way to stay hidden. However, I somehow managed to mess it up. This entire troop show up to investigate the sound that I make. I do deal with them and then dip out before any more reinforcements arrive, and I make my way further down the coast towards this town. Now, I almost got spotted by some of the guards that were alerted investigating the sound that I made from earlier, but I did manage to duck out into a side alley just in time to evade their search. And as I push further in, I actually find my target. So there is a target NPC on every single map. This is separate from your main objective. If you track and eliminate them, you're going to get some bonus experience, but also if you do so in a specific method, like by using a certain weapon or by some particular environmental hazard, this will unlock access to a brand new unique weapon for you to use. This is actually very similar to what is done in the recent reboot of the Hitman series. You have these specialty targets, you kill them in a certain way, and you get something special. I think it's a nice addition to the Sniper Elite franchise. So I spot my target just outside the church. I wait for him to hop into a transport before taking him out.
You're on my list, Beckendorf. Target neutralized. So long, Beckendorf.
And then I run away since absolutely everybody in the area heard. So at this point, we are about 45 minutes into my very first playthrough. And from here, I'd methodically make my way around the rest of the map, checking out all of the different locations. There's a town to the west with a checkpoint where I saw an NPC come out to actually ask for the papers of any vehicles that were passing through. This was kind of neat, although it was that man's final set that he will ever be checking. I explored a nearby farmhouse and came across a collectible. There will be many of these on every map to work towards finding. I also practiced some distance sniping from the second story of this building. One of the enemies that I took out from a distance actually also had on them this hotel safe code. Now this happens often in this game as well. You will find codes or keys or intel on the bodies of people that you take out or pacify, and this is going to give you access to other stuff on the map. So getting this code actually then marked the location location of the hotel safe on my map, which I could then go to, open up and see what was inside, which most of the time it'll be some useful items and another collectible. I then made my way to the northwest to a large camp where I was tasked with disabling this massive gun. There were a ton of patrolling guards here, so I thought to myself, let's do the whole tag the enemies and stealth takedown routine. It was going great at first until I forgot to check one of my corners. I walked right into a captain. He fired at me, alerting the entire camp, who then sounded the alarm system and called in heavily armed reinforcements on a truck, which I also happened to walk right by. The whole thing was a total mess, but I did make it out alive. I hid in the bushes for like 5 minutes, and then I snuck my way back into the camp. So when I made it inside, they told me that I had two options for disabling the gun. I could either load it with a sabotaged shell, causing it to blow up the next time it fired, or I could just take out the battery's generator, which was the stealthier option. Now, I opted at this point for blowing it up since, you know, stealth wasn't going so well. The entire camp was already alerted that something wasn't working. So I load the sabotage shell, exit from the bunker. This thing causes a huge explosion, and then I leave the area. After this, I go around doing some other stuff. I took out some anti-aircraft turrets. I cleared the coastal town that I was at before, opening up some valuable safes and collecting new intel. I blew up the remaining bunkers located on the beach. I got to see some of the game's various wall climbing mechanics, going up this vine ivy stuff. I completed a few more side quests. I also found some neat weapons, played around with customization, and I started getting way better at stealth, I promise. Remember, this was my first mission. It gets a lot better, I promise. After doing all of this stuff, I noticed it had been a little over 2 hours of me exploring and just checking the game out and seeing what there was to do. At that point, I decide, let's head towards the main objective to destroy the radar tower. Scouting out front, that I notice it is heavily watched. There are lookout towers, snipers, and spotters all over the place. So then I make my way to the eastern side. I find a checkpoint with 2 guards, and I try the old, hey, what is that sound method. It was very effective. Then I sneak into a trench system located just outside of the radar facility. This lets me keep out of sight from any of the eyes above, the snipers and the scouts. I grab a bunker key off of an officer and make my way inside. Similar to the massive gun, I am given another pair of options for completing this objective. I can either disable the power source for the radar, or I could head topside and attach some explosives to it, making it go kaboom. Now, since at this point I had been getting in the groove of stealth, I decide to stay in the bunker and take enemies out silently, which is made a whole lot easier by the fact that I finally learned about the game's system of focus. This is basically like Batman vision. You can see, or in the game's terms, you can sense enemies through walls or other objectives. Figuring this out made staying stealthy 100 times easier. I clear the bunker, overload the generator, find the breaker, fry the system, and mission complete. There we go. At that point, I am given an extraction point, which was near the farmhouse located to the west. I make my way over, meet the contact, and it is mission complete. All told, playing through this first mission took me a total of 2.5 hours. Is it possible to complete it faster? 100%. You could probably rush to the main objective and get it done in like under 15 minutes. But with all of my exploring, stealthing around, checking out this fairly large map and taking out targets, finding collectibles, completing the side objectives, yeah, just that first mission took me a very long time. Now, as I continued to play, I improved quite a bit in staying stealthy. Again, I know this is a stealth game. I got better at stealth, I swear. I also improved my general game sense, learning more about the game, and also being more creative with the different options and things that the game has to offer in terms of combat and interacting with enemies and the environment. When it comes to stealth in particular, as I mentioned, a couple of key things to learn and really pay attention to are that visual and audio radius system. The game will clearly show you how detectable you are with your weapons and just people spotting you in the distance. Plus, there's a heads up system so you can see if someone's looking at you. If they are, duck back into the shadows, crouch or prone, do whatever you got to stay hidden and not alert the enemies. The game has a full-on cover system. If you crouch behind low-lying objects, you will automatically take cover. You can also stay in the shadows to dramatically reduce how visible you are. You can take out certain light sources. And yeah, using that focus mechanic is huge. Being able to highlight enemies within your field of vision, even if they're behind walls, is a massive advantage. Now, this is offset by the fact that it increases your heart rate, which will make shooting less accurate if your heart rate reaches a certain level. So it's a balance. You're not just going to be walking around with the focus activated, but you will ideally use it pretty often. Traversal, there's a lot of options here. So you just press and hold spacebar to jump or climb any objects that you are allowed to jump or climb. So you can vault certain small walls, you can jump gaps, you can grab onto zip wires to traverse quickly. You're also able to climb certain things in the environment like netting, ledges, and vines. These areas are fairly obvious and different from where and what you can and can't climb. The game also lets you set traps. Various objects in the world, like vehicles and bodies, can be booby trapped. You can plant explosives on these. These will detonate when enemies come near. Some stuff can even be sabotaged, like you can force a car engine to malfunction, creating a sound mask, hiding the sound of your shots. Also, certain objects in the environment can be weaponized, like you can shoot certain statues or chandeliers, collapsing them onto whatever unsuspecting victim is beneath them. You can attack fuel barrels and gas lamps, causing them to detonate. The game, I wouldn't say has a ton of environmental interaction, but enough to help vary up the engagement with the environment so that you're not just stealth takedowning enemies and shooting enemies. There are other ways to engage. Now, this is mostly all surrounding the campaign. I should also mention a couple of things. The game does offer co-op, so you can go through all of the campaign missions 100% with a friend. It was pretty easy to do, no restrictions as far as we could tell. There's also the Axi Invasion, which I thought this was really, really cool. Like I said, it's basically like a Dark Souls invasion mode where another real player can join a campaign mission, and they play as an enemy sniper, and they try to hunt you and you try to hunt them. Simple as that. And once either player is eliminated, the invasion ends and the campaign player continues about their mission. The invading player goes back to the main menu and they can try to invade another player or, I don't know, do whatever else they want. The game also has a wave-based survival mode as well as competitive multiplayer, although I really can't touch on or show these right now due to the fairly restrictive NDA. So that is a basic recap of Sniper Elite 5. Overall, I would say that in a lot of ways, playing this game feels like playing a new old game, if that makes any sense. It's old school in its overall design, like the way it structures levels, how the movement mechanics are not really fully up to snuff with a lot of modern day action games, but they do have enough mechanics there and enough mantling and climbing to at least be an improvement over games of the past. The graphics, obviously, as you've probably been able to tell, not exactly next gen, feels a little older, and many aspects of this game look and feel like they're 5 or so years behind modern games. But at the same time, I should say it's been silly and fun. Like, I've had a good time. In a lot of ways, this game has actually felt oddly nostalgic to me as well. I have enjoyed playing Sniper Elite 5. I don't think it's going to be blowing anyone's mind. I don't think it's going to be setting any trends. It's not doing anything really new, but it does what it's doing, I think, well enough, and it's been an enjoyable enough experience that I can say that I've had a good time with it. It's not going to be my favorite game of 2022, but I can say I've had a decent time sneaking around. I've enjoyed Sniper Elite 5. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one.